A respected coroner in a quiet Maine town is called to examine two bodies. Both victims show signs of a brutal, calculated murder. But as he begins the autopsy, he freezes because he recognizes them. His heart stops. They were his wife and his daughter. But what happened next shocked everyone. The story unfolds in Barrow's Point, Maine, a fog-soaked fishing town with only one way in and one way out. Everyone knows everyone. And everyone trusts Dr. Simon Hale, the town's only medical examiner. The victim, Helen Adams, is a 32-year-old paramedic known for her calm voice and the way she held strangers' hands in their last moments. She was engaged to Simon. Their wedding was just 6 weeks away. Late one October night, a 911 call comes in from a roadside ditch. Two bodies, both mutilated. No witnesses. We post daily. Subscribe so you never miss a case like this one. Helen Adams had a warmth that filled every room she entered. In Barrow's Point, a town of barely 2,000 souls, she was a bright light in the constant gray. A paramedic who worked impossible hours, she never complained, not about the rain, the long drives, or the endless calls. She was the kind of woman who could steady a dying man's hand and make him feel safe. When she met Dr. Simon Hale, the town's coroner, it felt like fate. He was quiet, refined, a man who spoke softly but carried the kind of confidence people trusted. They met after a fatal crash on Route 9. Helen was shaken. It was her first death on duty. Simon handed her a cup of coffee and told her, "You did everything right." She never forgot that. Their relationship moved fast. Within 6 months, they bought a house on the edge of town. The neighbors saw them gardening together, laughing over coffee, walking hand in hand by the pier. To everyone, they looked like a love story written in small-town perfection. But something changed after Simon's father died. Helen noticed him spending more nights at the morgue, sometimes not coming home at all. He told her it was work. But his temper started to flare over small things: a forgotten text, a late return from a call. Soon the house felt colder. Helen began locking her phone. Simon began checking it anyway. Then came the notes. Small, handwritten warnings slipped under her door. "He's not who you think he is." At first, Helen laughed it off. But when her tires were slashed outside the hospital, she started to keep her distance even from Simon. Her sister, Clara, urged her to leave. "He scares you," she said. Helen didn't answer. By mid-October, Helen began recording her thoughts in a private journal. One entry stood out. "Simon's eyes don't look the same anymore. It's like he's studying me, waiting." The night before she disappeared, Helen made dinner for two. Candles, soft jazz, her attempt to save what was left. Simon never showed. At 11:42 p.m., she left the house. Her phone pinged near Route 8. Then, silence. Her car was found the next morning. Update. And in the passenger seat, her engagement ring. It was 3:47 a.m. when the call came in. Two bodies found near the marshes off Route 8, a stretch of road locals avoided after dark. Rain hammered the asphalt, lightning flashing over the distant water. Paramedics arrived first, headlights cutting through the fog. What they found didn't look like an accident. Both victims were female, early 30s, restrained before death. Their car sat idling in a ditch, doors open, radio still whispering static. The scene was too quiet. No skid marks. No sign of a struggle. Just silence and the heavy smell of iron in the air. At the county morgue, Dr. Simon Hale was already there. Coffee in hand. Well, sleep deprived. He'd been called out of bed for an emergency double autopsy, unaware of who awaited him beneath the white sheets. He begins with the first body. The zipper opens with a sharp hiss that cuts through the room. His breath catches. The world stops. It's Helen. Her skin is pale from the rain, her hair tangled with fragments of sea grass. For a second he thinks it's a mistake. But when he sees the small birthmark behind her ear, his knees buckle. The nurse moves to help, but he raises a trembling hand. "I'll take it from here." He unzips the second bag. Clara Adams, Helen's younger sister, the one who had told her to leave him. Simon's gloved hands shake as he begins the examination. Each wound tells a story. Ligature marks, bruising consistent with restraint, a single incision post-mortem, methodical, deliberate. Not rage. Precision. Sheriff Tate arrives moments later. "You shouldn't be doing this, Simon," he warns. Simon doesn't answer. He just keeps staring at Helen's face, whispering her name under his breath. Word spreads fast. Within hours, local news trucks line the gravel lot outside the morgue. Reporters shout questions as Simon walks out, rain pelting his white coat. Cameras flash. He doesn't flinch. By morning, the headlines are everywhere. Coroner identifies his own fiancée in double homicide. Inside the morgue, investigators discover something strange. Simon's autopsy notes written before the official ID confirmation already list Helen's name. When asked why, he simply says, "I knew." And the way he says it sends chills through everyone in the room. Detectives from the Maine State Police arrive by dawn, their boots echoing through the sterile halls of the morgue. The air is heavy with bleach and suspicion. Simon Hale sits in his office, eyes bloodshot, a man hollowed out. He swears he didn't kill Helen. Says he found her like that. But the calm in his voice unnerves everyone. Detective Mara Jennings takes the lead. She's methodical, skeptical, and immediately senses something off. Simon insists on assisting with evidence reviews citing his expertise. She declines. His jaw tightens. They start with Helen's car. Inside, they find her phone wedged beneath the seat. The screen is cracked, but an unsent text glows faintly. "Meet me. I have proof." Proof of what? No one knows. The phone's last call log shows an incoming number blocked. Time, 11:44 p.m., the night she disappeared. Detectives trace Helen's last movements using security footage. She stopped at a gas station alone buying coffee. The clerk remembers her. "She looked scared," he says. "Kept checking the parking lot." Meanwhile, a search warrant turns up shocking evidence at Simon's home. His study is lined with case files, autopsy reports from unsolved disappearances dating back 5 years. All women. All bearing similar injuries. When asked why he kept them, Simon says, "Professional curiosity." But then they find the hidden USB drive, taped inside the back of his microscope. On it are dozens of video clips, surveillance from his private autopsy room. Some show routine procedures. Others don't. One file stands out, Helen_autopsy_test1. The video begins shakily. Helen is alive, tied to the steel table. Her voice cracks. "Simon, please?" His voice replies, low and distant, "You'll understand soon." Then the footage cuts to black. Simon claims it's fake. He says someone hacked his system, edited the footage. But when forensics analyze the metadata, the timestamps match the night of her disappearance. The sheriff confronts him, demanding the murder weapon. Simon smirks. "You'll never find it." The case spirals. Locals split, half believing Simon was framed, half convinced he's a monster. But then, a young forensic intern, Mia Torres, reviewing cold evidence, finds something overlooked: a mislabeled blood vial in the morgue freezer. And what's inside changes everything. 3 weeks after the funeral, Barrow's Point tries to move on, but the morgue stays sealed under police tape. The smell of disinfectant still clings to the walls, like the place itself refuses to forget. Forensic intern Mia Torres is assigned to archive evidence for state storage. It's late. Everyone else has gone home. She hums softly to keep her nerves steady. Then, while boxing up old vials, she notices something strange. A blood sample labeled case 22-041. Simon Hale's own blood panel from a routine medical check doesn't match the entry log. The date is off by 2 days. She holds it up to the light. The liquid looks darker, thicker. Curiosity takes over. She runs a quick DNA test in the lab. The results come back mixed. 2 profiles. One is Simon Hale. The other, Helen Adams. The mixture suggests it wasn't drawn during life, it was drawn after death. Mia's hands tremble. It means Simon was in contact with Helen's body long after the official autopsy. He'd falsified records. He'd tampered with evidence. Detective Jennings gets the call. Within hours, the morgue is swarming again. Under the floorboards of Simon's private office, they uncover a locked cold storage unit hidden behind an extra panel of tiles. Inside, police find 3 sealed containers submerged in formaldehyde. Each one holds human remains. Dental analysis confirms 2 of them belong to victims from unsolved missing persons cases, women from neighboring towns. The third is unidentified. None of these remains were ever logged into official reports. When confronted, Simon doesn't run. He sits calmly in his living room, sipping coffee as flashing red lights reflect off his window. "You found them, didn't you?" he says softly. When Detective Jennings asks why, he finally smiles, the kind of smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "I was preserving them. They were beautiful. I couldn't let them go to waste." The courtroom is silent when the footage plays. Helen's voice, pleading, Simon's surgical precision, the eerie calm in his movements. The jury takes less than an hour. Guilty on all counts. He's sentenced to life in prison without parole, stripped of all medical credentials. As he's escorted away, reporters shout questions. He pauses only once, turning toward the camera. "You think it's over?" he whispers. It's not. Months later, the FBI confirms the DNA in the third container doesn't match any known victim. A fourth sample, found behind Simon's refrigerator, matches traces of blood found in the morgue's drainage system from an unknown woman. The implication is chilling. Helen and Clara weren't his first victims. They might not have been his last. To this day, Barrows Point residents swear that the lights in the old morgue flicker on some nights at exactly 3:47 a.m., the same time Helen's body arrived. Some say it's just faulty wiring. Others say it's Simon still doing his work from behind the glass. The truth may still be out there. Dr. Simon Hale represents a chilling archetype in forensic psychology, the narcissistic control killer. On the surface, he was intelligent, methodical, respected. But beneath that calm exterior lived a man obsessed with dominance. His career as a coroner gave him daily access to death, and over time, it desensitized him. He didn't fear mortality. He studied it, controlled it. Experts suggest Simon's pathology stemmed from a deep-rooted God complex. Every autopsy reinforced his sense of power, turning death into something he could manipulate. When Helen began pulling away, he couldn't bear the loss of control. Killing her wasn't just revenge, it was reclamation. By autopsying her himself, he achieved what psychologists call ultimate possession. His precision, his ritualistic preservation of bodies, points to obsessive-compulsive tendencies rooted in perfectionism. Each act was calculated, not impulsive. Simon viewed his victims as specimens, objects frozen in the purity of his control. To him, love meant ownership. Intimacy meant obedience. And when either slipped away, death became the only way to restore order. In his mind, he wasn't destroying them. He was immortalizing them, preserving perfection, one body at a time. Helen Adams' story reminds us that monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes, they wear lab coats and speak softly. Simon Hale wasn't just a killer. He was the person the town trusted most. That's what makes this case so haunting. Evil didn't creep in from the outside. It lived among them all along. Her death wasn't just the end of a life. It was the unraveling of a man who believed he could master death itself. And in trying to preserve perfection, he destroyed everything he claimed to love. If you were the detective on this case, would you have seen it coming? Subscribe now and don't miss our next case, the father who investigated his daughter's murder he committed. Because in behind the crime, we uncover the truth they wanted buried, and sometimes the truth stares right back.